Is audio mixing demo 4. We've done a lot so far. We have adjusted faders, we've adjusted panning, we got our tracks all in order. That was the first video. The second video we've got into EQing, and then this last video we did a compression. So this video we're going to cover reverb. And if you recall from the intro to effects tutorial, reverb is adding space back into your mix. Now, again, be thinking about how we record stuff in the studio. A lot of times the microphone's right next to the sound source, which is not normally how you hear sounds. Normally we hear sounds a ways back a little bit, right? And when we hear sounds a ways back, the sound of the room that we're in or the environment that we're in mixes in with the direct sound from the instrument, and it puts the sound in a space, if you will, right? So if you have the microphone right next to the instrument, you miss out on a lot of space and room in your recordings, and it can make them sound kind of sterile and flat because you don't have that nice room ambience in with the music. So what a lot of times we do to kind of get that space back is we sometimes will set up a microphone in the room. And this microphone that we have here, we've kept out of the mix up until this point. And so you can definitely use this microphone to put that room kind of back in the recording. And I'll let you experiment with that. If you just turn it back on now and bring that volume back in, you'll probably want to EQ this a little bit. I usually like to pull out the low end a little bit. So just put a channel EQ on it real quick. Something like this, where I'm going to take out the low end a little bit, maybe a little bit more on the high, maybe take out some of the mids, just to kind of shape that a little bit. So that's one way that you can get some of that natural reverb back in. Another way is you can get it artificially with some effects. We've actually got reverb effects where you can put the recording maybe in a totally different room, sounding wise at least. So I'm going to go down all the way here on audio effects to reverb, and you see we've got some different settings here. This hall, room, special. Let's go to room, and you can see there's a lot of just different kinds of rooms in here. Wooden room, tile room, storage space. So simulating different things, a garage, a drums room, right? All of these are different kind of spaces that you could put the instruments or the singers in. Let's try ambience, and I'm just going to put that on Megan's voice. And I'm going to turn off this effect real quick, and let's just solo Megan and see what she sounds like. We'll pick a good spot right here to loop. And then we'll put the reverb on. And you can see it's way too much right off the bat, right? It sounds like she's in a different room almost, or like behind some glass or something like that, right? And typically most of these reverbs, when you first bring them in, they are going to be mixed really, really strong. And that's this dry wet knob down here in the bottom right hand corner. If it's all the way up to 100%, that means all you're hearing is the reverb, and you're not even hearing any of the direct sound at all, right? So the first thing I do usually when I pull any reverb in is I'll go to that dry wet knob and just bring it way down. For me, for most things, I keep reverb down to like 20 and 30%, but depending on the rest of the track and what kind of style of music it is, it might be a lot more. But let's play that now and see what that sounds like. In our skin, we both know how easy it is to do now. Okay. And like I said, there's lots of different reverbs, so you can try some different ones, and large chamber might be really nice. In our skin, we both know how. And lots of different things you can experiment around with that. I'm not going to get into a lot of the specific settings on the reverbs because I mostly want you to stick to the presets and just the wet dry knob. And if you want to turn some knobs, see what they do, go for it. We'll get more into the advanced parts of reverb in later classes. For most of the stuff that we're going to be doing, I think either room or hall are going to be good choices for you. There's some cool ones in special, but a lot of these are kind of really weird, like oil barrel. It's funky sounding, but it's not really useful. Same with outer space. So that's one way to do reverb. The other way to do reverb, because reverb is such a common thing that we put on so many instruments, Ableton actually creates a reverb track for you right off the bat with any session that you're loading. And this is a special kind of track called an aux send track. And what it is it's a track that just has a reverb effect already loaded onto it. So if I click on this little ribbon up here up top, you can see there's already a reverb effect loaded onto this track. You can't put any audio on the reverb track, but what you can do instead is send audio to this track, and that's what these send A and B knobs are for. So let's say I wanted to put some reverb on Megan's vocal. It's as easy as just going to that A knob and turning that up, and the more I turn it up, the more it's going to send her voice to the A reverb, right? And you can see there's also another effect over here that's delay, and a lot of times reverb and delay are used together to create that kind of nice spacious sound. And so you can blend, you know, how much delay versus how much reverb. Delay is a lot more like echo, right? So be careful with the delay, because a little bit goes a long way on that. But that's a really easy way to use reverb, and this way you don't have to fuss with lots of different reverbs. You've already got it set, and you can just decide, like, you want some on the vocals, maybe you want some on the violin, maybe you want some on the acoustic guitar. It's very easy this way. I usually like a little bit on the snare, maybe some on the overheads. So that's 3 different ways that you can do EQ. Again, we've got the room mic that we can bring back into the mix. We can take a reverb effect and drag it specifically on a track and get a specific reverb just tailored for that specific mic. Or you can use the aux sends and use the reverb send track and the delay send track to get that same kind of vibe. So mess around with those 3 options and see what you come up with.